Alright guys, this video is going to be telling you a little bit about how you can make your own Tim Burton self-portrait. Now there are a lot of different ways and a lot of different videos out there showing you different ways to do it, but I'm going to show you an easy way that we're going to be doing it in class. So first off, I think it's just easier if we use a template for the head. So as you can see, I have my self-portrait over here. This is the template that I used for this, and that'll just ensure that you have enough room for all of your features that you're going to do and you don't end up with a really tiny head. So I'm going to take my template and I'm going to come down from the top about an inch or an inch and a half or so and kind of center it, and I'm going to draw around it. And I've taken my pencil and I have drawn around that so you can see the circle on my paper. And I'm going to extend the circle down, but before I do that, I'm just going to really lightly sketch and divide the circle in half. And I'm going to take that beyond the circle just a little bit. And I'll press a little harder than I want you to because I want that to show up in this video. But you want to do this very lightly because this is just going to get erased later on. Now I'm going to go back up to my circle and I'm just kind of going to retrace my circle. But when I get to the outermost part of the circle, instead of going around the circle, I'm going to go down to the point right there where I ended my line. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Now it's a little bit harder for me to do it on this side like this. You might want to turn your paper upside down so that you can do the same thing. I just think that's a little easier because my pencil naturally goes in an arc this way. So that's the way I like to do it. If you don't want to do that, you can certainly just come out, trace your circle, and then go down to this point. Tim Burton style portraits have this kind of elongated face that often end in a point, so that's why I'm sketching it out that way. Also, I want to divide this circle in about half so that I can get the correct placement for the eyes. So I'm going to go back up to my circle here and I'm going to divide the circle in about half. And you can see that makes kind of a plus sign in my circle. And again, please sketch very lightly. Now, at this point, I want to add the eyes. But before I add the eyes, I think this would be a good time to just add, we're not going to add the nose and mouth yet, but I'm just going to add a little line where they are going to be. So I'm going to take the remaining line that I have from here to here, and I'm going to go down a little past half. Half might be about here. I'm looking at this line right here, from here to here. So that would be about halfway. I'm going to go down just a little bit past that halfway. And then I'm going to just use this line of my circle as the mouth. So I'm just going to kind of trace over my circle a little bit. This is going to be the mouth. You might want your mouth to be really wide so you can trace more of the circle, but I'm just going to trace a little bit of mine. I can always extend that later. So right here is where the nose is going to stop, the end of the nose, and right here is where I'm going to put my mouth. Now on this line that we divided the circle in half, that's where we're going to put the eyes. I'm going to give you a circle template. Now if you didn't have a circle template like this, you certainly can just draw this on. Or you might find another circle that fits your needs, but I do have these circle templates in my class, so we're just going to use this. I want you to find the circle for the eye shape that you want, the size. Now Tim Burton exaggerates the size of the eyes, so you're going to make sure that you're not going to pick a really small eye or a realistic size eye. You're going to be choosing an eye that's kind of big. So I'm going to take the template for the size eye that I want, and I want to make sure that I'm not putting it in the middle, obviously, so I have to put this template on this side So maybe I'll just kind of make a mark about halfway here. Just going to make a little mark. So when I put this template over it, I can make sure that's in the middle. So I'm going to put my template on, and right here's the eye, middle, and I'm just going to trace around my template for one eye, and I'm going to use the same size. I'm going to trace the other one, make sure that this is in the middle, and trace around it. Now Tim Burton eyes, he does have a very small dot in the middle of the eye for like the pupil or iris combined. You could have it in the middle where this mark already is, or you could change it. You could put it up here so the person's looking up, or putting off to the side. I put mine off to the side so the person's looking off to the side. So what I'm going to do, I don't want mine in the middle here. You might want yours in the middle. You can just leave the dot there if you do. But I'm going to do some erasing here. So I'm going to erase what went through the eyes, and I'm going to erase on either side of the eyes. And I'm going to erase this line also. Don't erase that little line that you made right here where your bottom of the nose is going. You want to keep that line, and you want to keep the line for the mouth. But I don't need the other lines. And I actually don't need this beyond the mouth either. So just taking some time to clean up the portrait. All right. So you can decide how you want your person to be looking, off to the side, looking down, looking up. So maybe I'll have my person looking up this time instead of off to the side. So I'm going to take my pencil and just make a small circle. You don't need a template for that. Just draw a small circle on both eyes, however you want them to be looking. So my person's looking up, as you can see. Now for the nose, this is going to be the bottom of the nose. There are many different kinds of noses that you can use for Tim Burton noses. You can look at the handout that I'll provide for you and choose the kind of nose that you want to make. I'm just going to use this nose since that's the one that I had on this portrait. I'll go ahead and use that kind of a nose. So all I did was, for that nose, it's just kind of a really little pointy nose. I'll point my nose up a little bit. And remember, this is a self-portrait. So when you do this, you can make this look like you. I do want you to make it look like you, but this is going to be you Tim Burton style. So we are using Tim Burton style noses, eyes, and a mouth, and hair, but keep in mind that you would like to make this look like your own hairstyle and kind of personalize it so that it does look like you, has some characteristics of you. I'm going to need to bring my nose up a little bit, and I'm purposely drawing kind of dark so it shows up in this video. You may want to sketch lightly at first, and then you can always darken it up once you're sure you have what you want. I can also add a mouth, so whatever kind of mouth you would like to have. Now I put just regular lips on this one, kind of small lips on the middle. You might want to add other kind of lips or a different kind of mouth, so I'm gonna just extend my mouth out here, and I'm going to add kind of a Tim Burton style mouth that looks like this. And you can look at all the different styles of mouth that Tim Burton does, and you can pick the one that you like. I obviously am going to need some eyebrows, so I'm going to put my eyebrows here. And I'm going to put an eyebrow over here. If you would like to do something like I did over here and just come down on your circle a little bit and add an eyelid, you can certainly do that. You can add eyelashes. If you're a girl, you want to add kind of what I did on mine. I added these curly eyelashes like this, just very stylized in the Tim Burton style. If you're a boy, you may not want to do that. You might just want to make like short little eyelashes coming out. Maybe eyelashes at the bottom, just very short. So I didn't add bottom eyelashes on this one, but I could, if I wanted, I could certainly do something like this. All right. Now, before we move on to anything else on the head, if you're a boy and your hair is shorter, or if you're a girl and you wear your hair in a ponytail, or you do have shorter hair and you think your ears are going to show, obviously in this one I don't have ears because my ears don't show, but if you do have ears that show, you can just do simple little ear on each side, kind of beside the eye. These are pretty little. Yes, you can add earrings if you want to later. Maybe I'll add like spider earrings or something fun like that. But I'll come back to the hair later. Let's do the neck. So the next thing I'm going to do is come down. So right below this point here, that would be kind of the middle of the neck. So I want to go on either side. And Tim Burton makes the neck of his characters pretty long and skinny. So I'm making this neck much longer and skinnier than I actually would if I were trying to make this realistic. Now, once you do that, you're going to make small shoulders. So I'm going to come out a little bit on either side, but I'm not coming all the way out. I'm just coming out a little bit, about halfway maybe. And then I'm going to curve it and go down. At this point, you can add whatever decorations or patterns or designs or style of a shirt that you want. So you can come back to this at any point and add your own ideas on here. You could add a little necklace if you wanted, or a choker, or anything you'd like. I'm just going to add right now, just showing you where the collar or neck of my shirt would be. And I'm just going to add a couple lines here for the arm and a line like that. So I have my body. So you see the arms and the body. And I can come back later. On this one, I added kind of a spider web design with a little spider, but I could put really whatever I'd like on there. Now for the hair, there are so many different ways that you can draw hair. Everyone has their own unique hairstyle. So you can pick the hairstyle from the handout that I'll show that matches the hairstyle that you have the best. Nothing's going to match exactly, and you can certainly personalize it from what you see on the handout, but this will at least give you a start. The important thing here is, though, whatever you do, you have to make sure this line here is just the top of the head. It's not the top of the hair. So you have to come up a little bit from this line for the hair. So let's say my hair comes down like this, maybe just a little bit past the ear, and then maybe on this side, and it comes a little bit past the ear. And let's say there's a part right here. I'm not stopping the part at the top of the circle. I'm going past the top of the circle because this is the top of the head. And unless you're bald, you don't want to start there with the front of your hair. You want to come down onto the forehead a little bit. So whatever hairstyle you're going to choose to make here, I'm going to come down kind of a little bit in front of the ear. And on this side, I'm going to come down on that side. Now this line right here, I don't need that anymore. So I'm going to erase that. That's the top of the circle. And I have a fun kind of a hairstyle on this person. Notice I'm using a lot of jagged lines because jagged edges kind of give you that, that feeling where something's dangerous or scary. So Tim Burton's portraits kind of give you the idea that they're a little bit scary. So that's why I'm using a lot of those lines. It's not something you have to do, but that's just why I'm doing it. All right, so that's the basics of how to draw your Tim Burton portrait. And once it's drawn, then it's time to think about how to add some shading to it to make it look a little bit more like the Tim Burton portraits that we all are familiar with. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and explain a little bit about the shading. Now, when we shade our Tim Burton eyes, we're going to take this circle here and just going to take my pencil. This is just a regular pencil, and I'm going to add a little bit of shading all the way around the eye. And I would suggest that you use a regular pencil instead of one of those mechanical pencils, because we are going to smudge this a little bit. It just works a lot better if you're using a regular pencil. All right, so you can see the difference between the eyes. I'm just going to take my finger and I'm just going to smudge this a little bit. You can see it kind of shades around the eye, and I'm coming in with my finger into the eye a little bit, so it's adding a little bit of shading in there. And I'm going to go around this side, my pencil. And again, just go ahead and smudge that a little bit. That adds some shading there. For my nose, I'm going to just take mine and I'm going to connect the nose here to the eyebrow. If you have a smaller nose down here that you don't have a line up here, you can always put one in, or you can start just from here for both eyes. I'm just going to extend this one up like I did over here to show you how I did it, but you might want to do both eyes this way. If you just draw a line from your eyebrow down to your eyes, and then just very lightly, just add a little pencil shading, and then just a little smudging. I'm going to add the pencil shading on this side. And on my nose, I'm going to come down a little bit onto the nose. Notice I'm going in the same direction with my pencil. I'm not going every which way and scribbling. That's not going to look very good. Once we try to smudge it, it's going to be much easier if you go the same direction. And then I'm just going to smudge it. And that just adds a little shading around there. I'm going to add a little bit of shading under the mouth. And I'm tilting my pencil off to the side. And then I can smudge it. You can also go all the way around the edge of the face. And I'm turning my pencil, going all the way around the edge of the face, even around the hair. So I can shade a little bit around the hair. Just add a little bit of pencil right there, and take my finger and I'm just going to smudge that a little bit too. As I'm smudging this, you can see the outer line. I'm kind of losing that a little bit, and same thing like with the eyelashes. So anything that you lose after you smudge, you might want to go back in and darken that, especially around the eyes. You don't want to lose that nice dark area around the eyes, so you can go back and darken it. Now I'm using blue paper here for my portrait, so this blue paper is only letting me make my line of this pencil so dark. So I have to work so that we don't rip the paper. You just want to make your lines darker, but you don't want to rip your paper. You can add a little bit of shading to the ears. I'm just using what's already on my finger. You can also add a little shading under here, under the cheekbone. So I'll just go into some of this, and I'm using what's already on my finger. And I'll just add a little bit of cheekbone shading here. Sometimes Tim Burton's people have even more shading under the eye. That's something you want to add a little more shading under the eyes. You certainly can do that. You don't have to. I don't have too much shading under the eyes on this one, but just so I can show you, I'll do it under this one. You might notice on this, the eyes are very white. So I'm going to take a crayon I have sitting here, and I'm just going to color my eyes in white. You could also use, if you don't have a crayon, you could use a colored pencil, or you could use chalk. Something that the white is going to show up on this colored paper that we have. I'm going around this little circle here. I don't want to cover up that circle, so I'm coloring around it. If there's any area that you would like to highlight, for instance, I highlighted a little bit on my nose, so I just drew a little highlight with my white. If I wanted to highlight anything on the mouth, like say there was a lower lip here, could just add a little highlight there. Anywhere where you want to add a little highlight, you can do that with your white. Later over here, I went back to my costume and I added a little bit of white. I added a little bit of white in my hair. Before you do anything in the hair, you can just go ahead and add some shading to the hair. You might have lines in your hair. It's fine if you don't want to do that, but if you do, you could go ahead and draw any lines that you'd like, directional lines. I did that on this one and on my bangs. So if that's something you want to do, and then you can always shade that with your pencil. So I'm going to just add a little bit of shading here. And everybody's hairstyle is going to be unique. So I'm just adding some shading to this particular hairstyle. I'm following the contour of the hair when I'm doing this. So I'm not scribbling. I'm following the contour of the hair that I drew. It means I'm going in the same direction that the hair will grow. And then you can see I have these lines down here, so I'll go that way. Blend that into the rest of the hair so that it shows up good. Bring that down in front of the ear a little bit. So I get the basic on, and then I go back and I'm adding a little bit of darker shading to it. So I want this hair to show up really well. If you have blonde hair, you might want to keep this kind of light, like I did here. I didn't add too much shading, but if you want a darker colored hair, then you add more shading. And I'm just going to blend that a little bit. You can go back with your crayon, and anywhere you want a little highlight, all you have to do is just add little highlights here and there with your crayon. This is darker hair, so I'm not adding that much in the way of highlights on this. Just a few little areas here or there. Under here, under the chin, this is a shaded area, so I'm going to shade down just a little bit under the chin. I want this to be pretty dark. Notice how I'm going up and down. I can go across a little bit just to get that under the chin. Then I'm going up and down because that's the way my neck goes. I'm going to shade down on one side a little bit more than the other. And then I'm going to blend that out also. You might want to blend a little bit here as well. Maybe not. I'm going to. Okay. And I'm not going to take the time to finish out the outfit. You can always do that yourself. But the final step is I'm going to just go ahead and clean this up a little bit. Anywhere where I have some pencil where I don't want it to be, I'm just going to clean it up a little bit. And then you might notice around this one, I have some corners where I have made it darker. So I'm going to put another paper under there so that I don't get it all over the place here. And I'm just going to start with a corner and make my corner dark and then get lighter and lighter and lighter. And notice the direction I'm going. Okay, see the direction I went? Like that across the corner, and then I got lighter and lighter. I'm going to do that with the other corner. Put that. And get lighter and lighter. See how that's making kind of a cool looking frame around it? And then I'm going to do it with the other corners. I'm not going to go over my outfit here. I'm just going to go beside it. And this corner. Make sure you have a paper underneath when you're doing the corner. We don't want to get it all over the table. I didn't want to get it all over my whiteboard here. All right, and at that point you can be done. As you can see, this one has a frame. I'll show you in another video how you can add a really cool looking frame to your Tim Burton character. But once you're done with what I've shown you so far, and then I do want you also to go back and design your clothes, add some shading to that wherever you'd like, maybe some white highlights to that wherever you'd like as well, and you'll be finished. So I can't wait to see what you come up with. I'm really excited to see how your self-portraits Tim Burton style turn out.